What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. In today's video, I want to give you guys some quick Atlanta Falcons news, and then I also want to talk a little bit about free agency. But if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you'll know when I've done Atlanta Falcons content or Cleveland Cavaliers content. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys for continuing to share out my content on all the social media platforms. If you would like to follow your boy on Twitter, you can follow me at Jew Talk Sports. But we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We're about 90 or 85 subscribers away from 1,000. So I really appreciate you guys continuing to hit that subscribe button and sharing out the content. But with that being said, let's jump right into the video. So first off, in Atlanta Falcons news, breaking news today, the Falcons have re-signed Younghoe Koo, Tyler Hall, Jacob Tuioti Mariner, and also re-signed Christian Blake today. So shout out to those guys for re-signing with the Atlanta Falcons for this upcoming season. I'm just going to talk about each player a little bit. Younghoe Koo did lead the league in scoring last year with his field goals. He did make the Pro Bowl. He was a very reliable kicker for our Atlanta Falcons. So I definitely think that it was a huge deal of bringing him back. As you know, football is 3 phases, offense, defense, and special teams. And he was the MVP for our special teams unit last year. Younghoe Koo only missed a handful of field goals. So shout out to Younghoe Koo. Him re-signing with the team is a well-deserved contract. Hopefully we can keep him around for many years to come. So shout outs to him on not only making the Pro Bowl last year, but coming back with our Falcons in 2021. Also, Tyler Hall is a defensive back. He was a rookie last year. We actually signed him as a rookie free agent last year after the 2020 draft. He actually attended the University of Wyoming, and Tyler Hall is a speedster. I don't think a lot of people know a lot about him because he only appeared in like 2 games last year where he actually played at DB. He mainly played special teams, and I believe the main reason they brought him back was to be a gunner on special teams. This guy, Tyler Hall, if you go look up his stats, this guy ran a 4.3 40 at his pro day at Wyoming. He is one of the fastest cornerbacks in the league. I believe they said if he would have went to the combine, he would have ran the 5th fastest 40 time last year out of all the rookies. So this guy, Tyler Hall, he does wear the number 44. Unfortunately, we'll remember him for getting burnt by Antonio Brown when he was in the game at the end of the Tampa Bay game. The second time we played Tampa Bay in Atlanta, he was the player that got burnt by Antonio Brown. But I believe on that play, he was expecting safety help. But Tyler Hall is one of those guys that I think could possibly turn into or develop into a decent cover corner. He has the speed, not the biggest guy at 5'10". That's about average size for a DB, but he is a guy that can really fly. And I do think that he's going to be an intricate part of our special teams unit as a gunner. So shout outs to Tyler Hall for also re-signing with our Atlanta Falcons. Another player that re-signed today was Christian Blake. He's the wide receiver. He's been with our team since, I believe, 2018, if I'm not mistaken. He was another guy that signed out of the University of Northern Illinois. When he came out of college, he actually signed as a rookie free agent as well. He wasn't drafted. But Christian Blake is one of those guys that continue to develop year in and year out. Last season, he actually averaged 10.8 yards per catch, which is pretty good. That means he averaged the first down every time he caught the ball. He just didn't get a number of opportunities. So I feel like he didn't get enough opportunities because we're really deep at that wide receiver position, So I can see a guy like Christian Blake getting more snaps in this offense, especially under Arthur Smith, a guy that knows how to scheme guys open. And if we have any type of injuries, knock on wood, heading into this year on the wide receiver end of things, Christian Blake could be one of those guys that could be like the 4th wide receiver on the depth chart. So I definitely think that Christian Blake is a guy that's continuing to develop year in and year out. He has decent size. I believe Christian Blake is like 6'1", 6'2", has decent size and decent speed. And he's one of those guys that runs pretty good routes. He's a guy that's been kind of been under the wing of Julio Jones in training camp and things of that nature the last couple seasons. But he's done a pretty good job when he's gotten his opportunity. So I do think he's a guy that could see more opportunities this season with a guy like Arthur Smith as the offensive coordinator. So shout outs to Christian Blake as well for re-signing with the Atlanta Falcons. He's another guy that could possibly be a special teams unit type player as well, because he's kind of a do-it-all type player, a utility player. So I definitely could see Christian Blake playing some special teams as well. So shout outs to him. And then the final player that we signed today, Jacob Tuioti Mariner. He is, to me, one of the bright young players out of last year's roster. He's a guy that wears the number 91. He actually played at the University of UCLA. We drafted him 2 years ago. He was actually a practice squad player, and he actually played at UCLA with Tat McKinley. So he was a running mate of Tat McKinley's, but he's done a great job of continuing to develop into a bigger role. I could see him definitely having a bigger role this year. Last year, he definitely maximized his opportunities when he was out there on the field. He's a guy that can play special teams, and he played a lot of special teams last year, made a lot of tackles on special teams. And he's one of those guys that's versatile on the defensive line. He's a guy that can, blitz from the 2-point stance like a linebacker, an outside linebacker. He's also a guy that can put his hand in the dirt like a defensive end. Good thing about a guy like Jacob Tuioti Mariner, he has a good size. He's 6'2" and like 275 pounds. So he's not one of those smaller linebacker types. He is a guy that can actually play defensive end as well as play outside linebacker. So I can definitely see why Dean Pease and this staff, Terry Fontenot, why they brought him back, because Jacob Tuioti Mariner showed flashes last year. I believe his best game of the season last year was against the Las Vegas Raiders when he had a coming out party. He had a strip sack fumble where he recovered a fumble, forced a fumble and recovered it. He also was the defensive player of the week for that game last year against the Las Vegas Raiders. So I definitely think that Jacob Tuioti Mariner is one of those guys that can continue to develop, especially under a coach, or a coordinator like Dean Pease that has a very aggressive style defense. I think he's going to be able to use Jacob Tuioti Mariner in some different ways and be able to use his strengths and play to his strengths. But I was really proud of the way that Jacob Tuioti Mariner stepped in with Tat McKinley being cut due to his antics off the field. It was definitely a breath of fresh air to see a player like Jacob Tuioti Mariner. It's something about his name that's a tongue twister, but Jacob Tuioti Mariner really did a good job last season of stepping in when he got his opportunities. And I do think he's going to be one of those players that could carve out a bigger role on this defense, especially because we're really, struggling for as far as the cap goes. We don't have a lot of money to bring in a number of players. So Jacob Tuioti Mariner is definitely going to be one of those guys that's going to be one of our rotational pass rushers. But with that being said, those were the guys in Atlanta Falcons news that we brought in, re-signed today. They are the first wave of free agency. So shout out to those guys. Welcome back to the A. But with that being said, I also want to talk a little bit about free agency and what I think will happen this offseason with our Atlanta Falcons and just in free agency in general. A lot of people know that the salary cap is around 182 million for all the teams. All the teams have to get under that cap of 182 million dollars. And I really think that this year we're going to see a lot of players signing 1-year deals, 2-year deals, just because the cap is really went down this year due to COVID-19. The cap is really low this year. And I do think that a lot of these guys that are free agents are going to wait maybe 1 or 2 years and just sign small deals right now because of the cap being so tight. And then they possibly within 2 years or within the next year, if COVID-19 is over and when the TV deals hit and the salary cap shoots back up, a lot of these players are going to get those, big deals, those huge contracts. So I do think that a lot of players are going to sign short-term contracts right now due to the low cap number, that 182 million. It's not a lot of teams, especially the competitive teams. It's not a lot of teams that have a lot of cap space. The only team that I really think that has a ton of money is a team like the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have the most cap space, if I'm not mistaken. And they can basically fill out their roster and sign a bunch of these guys if they want to go out for these big name guys. If somebody does want to sign a lucrative deal, they'll have to sign with a team like Jacksonville because they're pretty much the only team out there that has a ton of cap space. A lot of these teams are cap strong. They don't really have a lot of space. A lot of these franchises like the Atlanta Falcons are in cap hell. I believe the New Orleans Saints are like 50 million over the cap. I believe us as the Falcons, we're like somewhere between 20 and 14 million over the cap. And we're still trying to make cuts to bring down this cap number. So I do believe it's more cuts to come for Atlanta Falcons because of the cap number being so low. I'm just hoping that we don't have to cut any big name players like the Dante Fowler or impact players, because we already have seen that we're not bringing back players like DeMonte Casey, Keanu Neal. Those guys are not coming back due to the cap number being so tight. Being that the cap is as tight as it is, the Falcons have decided to move on from, the Keanu Neals and the DeMonte Caseys of the world, and we're bringing in these younger players. So we're really going to have to hit on the draft. The draft is going to be very important for us. And it's a couple of guys that's been rumored to possibly be signing with the Falcons in free agency. One of the players that I seen Mad Mike had posted it on his YouTube page as well. I think it's Kenny Vaccaro is a veteran safety guy that we might bring in. He used to be with the Tennessee Titans, and he was drafted, I believe, by the New Orleans Saints. And he's a solid veteran safety, excuse me. He's a guy that plays the free safety or strong safety. And I think Kenny Vaccaro could be a guy that could be a veteran guy to man that safety position. He's just one of the names that's been linked to the Falcons. So we're definitely going to just have to keep our eyes peeled. And I definitely will continue to bring you guys breaking news and things of that nature as I hear it. But Kenny Vaccaro is one of those guys that has been a player that they're saying could possibly sign with the Falcons. Carlos Dunlap is a guy that is a free agent that I think could possibly come to the Falcons as well, and that may not demand as much money as some of the well-known or some of these younger guys that are looking for the bag at the defensive end position. Carlos Dunlap actually was a long-time Cincinnati Bengals defensive end, and he was recently cut by the Seattle Seahawks. So he could be a name out there that could be linked to the Falcons as well. And then another guy that's out there that I've seen and I think would possibly be a decent cornerback if we can bring him in as a veteran is Malcolm Butler. He's a guy that played in Tennessee as well. And I can see the Falcons looking at him just for the mere fact that Dean Pease coached him when he was in Tennessee, him and Kenny Vaccaro. So those are guys that you might want to keep an eye on. Those are guys that played, with the Tennessee Titans, and I could see the familiarity with the defense of why Dean Pease might try to bring in a guy, those guys that he's already familiar with. But with that being said, this been your boy Jew. You let me know what you think in the comments of the video. Also in this video, really quick, I just want to talk about Travis Etienne. He had his pro day. I believe it was today. He ran a 4.440. We all know that Travis Etienne is one of my favorite running backs in this draft class. I definitely think that the Falcons should strongly consider drafting Travis Etienne, whether we need to trade back up in the first round and draft this guy, or whether he falls to the second round and maybe we can get him in the second round. But I do think with the style of offense that we're going to run, where it heavily relies on the running game, I do believe that you need to bring in an explosive running back. No disrespect to Ito Smith. I think Ito Smith's a solid running back, but I don't think Ito Smith is a number one starting running back. So I definitely think we need to draft a starting running back or sign a running back. Personally, I would rather bring in a rookie and draft a running back with our second round pick. I'm thinking Travis Etienne, Javonte Williams, Chuba Hubbard. Those are the guys that I'm looking at possibly the Falcons bringing in to be the running backs for our team. Najee Harris, if he's still on the board, even though I think Najee Harris possibly could be a first-round running back. But those are the guys that I'm looking at, and I believe that will fit the Falcons scheme the best. Travis Etienne, Najee Harris, Javonte Williams, and Chuba Hubbard. Those are the guys that's on my draft board that I think the Falcons should try bringing in at that running back position. But with that being said, this been your boy Jew. I'll holler at you guys in the next video. Definitely, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button for your boy. Stay tuned because I'll have a lot more coming for you guys. And if you haven't went over to Atlanta Falcons Nation, please go over to Atlanta Falcons Nation as well and hit that subscribe button. We're on our way to 1,000 on our page over there as well. But I really appreciate your time. And as always, Falcons Nation, rise up. Peace.